Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Becca Campo, and I'll be presenting about Logic, aka Sir Robert Bryson Hall II. So, my presentation, I started out with the main point of childhood. His childhood was rougher than normal. He was brought up and raised in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and he had a very rough life. From his parents were alcoholics, and his mom was a drug addict. His mom being a drug addict, his brothers started to sell, and then he would see his brothers in the home selling to his parents, which, if you think, is not a very stable living environment for such a young child. He was living in Gaithersburg all the way through elementary school, middle school, and high school. Through high school, he did not fully graduate because he got kicked out multiple times. His mom, I could not find a name for that. She was very not present. She was not present in his life when he was younger. She was there, but she wasn't physically there, like mentally she wasn't there a lot. His siblings were drug dealers, like I mentioned, and then his father is Robert Bryson Hall I, and his birthday, Logic's birthday, is January 22nd, 1990. And he now says that he has been sober for more than 2 to 3 years, and that means no alcohol. He's not picked up any drinks. He occasionally drinks champagne, but he doesn't consider that because he has a sip after his album releases, and him and his wife have now created a life for them, so he has to be the father that he has never had. And his early education, Logic being born in Gaithersburg, Maryland is just outside of Baltimore, near Frederick area, and it's pretty rough out there. There's not much there. That's two-stoplight town, and there's not many people, so when there were parties in his early education life, he never attended, but he was smoking, he was drinking when he was younger, and then he realized that he had such a good life ahead of him, he had to follow after a specific role model. He grew up in West Deer Park neighborhood, which is a rougher neighborhood on the south side of Gaithersburg. He lived in I believe it was a 2-level house with his parents, and then his brothers were on the bottom selling everything that they possibly could. Logic did get expelled from Gaithersburg High School multiple times, and he could not graduate. He got expelled for fighting, for drugs, for alcohol, for bad grades, for not showing up. It was a lot of things, and Logic definitely went through it as a kid, so I understand that it gets rough in Gaithersburg, but now I'm hoping that in 2020, Gaithersburg has definitely shaped up more. His rise to fame, he started performances in early 2009 under the alias of Psychological. He came up with this name because he was feeling so lost in his childhood that he became psycho, quote unquote, and he was saying, I just kept seeing things in my parents and I didn't want to see it. So he gave himself the alias Psychological. And then a recording artist told him, no, I think you should change it to something more sophisticated, so he came up with Logic. So now he goes by Logic, and he is open for multiple people, such as Pitbull, Ludacris, and everybody like that. Creating this alias was nothing unusual for someone who went through something so traumatic as a young child. He ended up moving out at a very young age, very immature age. He was unsure how the real life would treat him. I believe he was 16 when he first moved out, because his parents were constantly high. It just wasn't a very good setting for him, so I understand why he moved out at such a young age. He picked up very odd jobs. He picked up, I believe he was a barber at one point in Gaithersburg, and then I think he went to be a taxi cab driver once he got his license. So he did very odd jobs, did very little pickup things, and he said he never got into selling the drugs because he wasn't into that portion. So now, being sober for years on end, he's found love at a very young age, and his love was his mixtapes. So in 2011, he released his second mixtape, and then he led to the third release in 2012, which he then became more personal in his lyrics. And if you've ever listened to his music, he definitely does share some personal things, which is why I appreciate his lyrics for what they are. Now, his personal life, his mom, he's not on talking terms with his mother because of the childhood that he had to go through and that she endured him through. They did not move around often, but they did almost get evicted a few times. So that's the first reason why he left. And then there was another time he ran away for a couple days, ended up coming back because he realized that he couldn't do it on his own. He's not religious per se, but he does believe in a higher God, which is he appreciates because when he gets through tough times, it helps him. He dated a girl in high school for 5 years. They started their freshman year and then broke up when he was a freshman in college, or when she was a freshman at college, sorry. They got through high school together and then they ended up breaking up. But later in 2015, he married Jessica Andrea and then divorced her in 2018. He just said that things weren't working. She wasn't thankful for his music. She wasn't letting him do his thing in life. So he said that he had to divorce her. He left home when he was 17, and then he now currently is married and has a little kid named Little Bobby with his wife, Brittany Noel. Here's my works cited. I used a couple different websites. I found some interviews on TMZ. I did not use Wikipedia, but TMZ definitely helped. I found a couple more websites that Logic has posted, like bibliographies and journal entries on, so I used that a lot. Other than that, Sir Robert Bryson Hall II is a very good role model for many people. He created a life that he wanted to live, not just going with the flow, because if he did, his parents definitely would have influenced him. But his parents did not influence him, and he did not let his parents structure the way that he was going to live his life. He now has more than $1 million net worth. He's smart, he's productive, he can produce any music. He has currently released his last album in 2020. Album is pretty good, so if you're into some new music, check out Logic's new album. This is not a promotion. But now he is well known, and his discovery of him came out in 2010. He now opens for all these different music artists, and he has a kid, married, and I'm sure if he looked back on his life, I'm sure he would not have known that he was going to be here in 2020, where he is with the net worth and the albums that he has. Thank you.